Alright, hey guys. Want to make a video about level 2 confirmation. Sadly, I just recorded like 10 minutes of this and my OBS crashed, so I have to make another one. So this video uh, is something I think a lot of people are interested in. A lot of people think level 2 is just noise. Doesn't tell you anything useful. Just a bunch of games that you shouldn't wrap your head around, and why should you pay attention to it? But like anything else in the market, anything else, literally anything, could be price action, could be volume, could be gapping percentage, could be moving averages, could be VWAP, could be institutional ownership, just like anything. Sometimes it's very useful, sometimes it's not useful, and we're gonna talk about the times when level 2 price action matches up a price action, and it's incredibly useful for both short and long. Okay. The key is you have to know, like I have it in this is a Discord that I just record different notes in. It's not open to anybody. It's just me and a friend who just post some charts. Maybe in the future I'll open it up. But it just says level 2 signals at important areas, right? So level 2 is very much about matching different tricks, different bid and ask manipulations at key areas when key long and short traps are formed. Okay, so it works on a long side, it works on a short side. Okay, so talk about some of the requirements. You must know what the traps are. You have to know. I'll make more videos, but I already covered a few about pattern replications and bid props and 9 a.m. pops and all types of stuff. I'll make more. There's a lot more. But you have to know what the traps are. You have to know what the technicals are. You have to know what the volume looks like. You have to know what the price action looks like. You have to know how long typically certain traps and certain manipulation takes to form, and what makes it ideal and what makes it less ideal, right? Because level 2 is nothing without knowing what the trap is. Okay, the level 2 exists to make the trap happen on the chart, right? If you want to think about manipulation, think about it as these guys know. They definitely know where the average short seller is, how many shorts are there, and what they're risking and where their risk levels are. And they know the same thing for longs, all right? So a lot of chart painting and manipulation is building up enough liquidity, whether it's short stop losses, long stop losses, or getting longs to chase, getting shorts to cover early. It's all about moving the stock in specific ways so they get the amount of orders that they want at certain areas. Okay, so and a lot of that is shown on a level 2 before it's shown on the chart, right? As All Day Faders once said, the chart is a lagging indicator, which is very true. So we're going to see how you can read level 2 at very specific areas. Most of the time, like 95% of the time, you don't need to look at it. Like I look at it during my trades or during potential setups to see if any of these signals show up. But I do want to mention that, which is my number 2 here, you don't need these signals. Like a long trap, which is another name for a short pattern, can work without these signals. Same with good A plus long situations. Can work without any of these signals. Okay, it just serves as additional confirmation, and it drastically increases the win percentage when they show up. Okay, and it also leads to deeper fades or deeper pushes, right? So we're going to talk about what those signals tend to be. The main signals either are huge bids or huge asks, okay, or they're hidden buyers or hidden sellers. If you don't know, if you don't know what the bid and ask are, this is the bid, this is the ask, okay? If you don't know what hidden buyer is, let's go to LASC. A hidden buyer, for example, is on the bid. The bids are really small, like 100, 100, 200. I show the full amount on my level 2. I don't like using the 112. I like seeing 100, 100, 200. If anyone's confused by that, I know most people, traders by default, have it, shown as 112. I just like this. Makes a little bit more sense. Same with the tape. Just makes a little more sense to me. But hidden buyer is when there's a very small amount of bids, but on the tape, there's tens or hundreds of thousands of shares being sold into the bid, and the bid's not moving, and that's because somebody's hiding his order. They're hiding their buy order. Okay, a hidden seller is the same thing, but on the ask. Okay, so those are the main signals. Those signals are context dependent. Okay, I used to think a big bid simply meant somebody was pushing a stock up before pulling it down later, right? And a big ask was somebody pushing a stock down before squeezing it later. Not the case. It depends on the trap. If a short trap pattern is being formed, right, which is bullish, then, for example, a big bid could be confirmation that the short trap pattern is about to work, right? There's some type of initiation. It's a signal that the initiation is about to happen before it happens, which allows you to to go long before the massive amount of buying actually starts, right? But a big bid on, for example, a long trap like a bid prop, which is very common. Um, like for example, CMMB had a big bid flash on a very ideal bid prop on an ATM fade, right? I actually added. Oh, actually, I missed this move, and I actually shorted down here, and this faded all the way to 3. Sadly, I covered a little bit early. I got to follow my ATM rules, but it's just confirmation of chart painting. It's confirmation of weakness if the pattern shows up, right? Bid prop with big, huge bids flashing can be very bearish. So okay, and I'll show you examples of when on the long side. When these same signals are bullish, okay? And then we have I have record your screen. I hope you guys have been recording your screen, because the only way to really learn these, it takes about, if you know what to look for, it's going to take you almost like a year going through multiple strong and weak cycles to like really understand how to read them and what you should do, right? A lot of stuff isn't like very intuitive. A lot of it is playing the odds. For example, I'll talk about SPRB today, which is today's January 6th, of how clear level. There was actually a huge level 2. There was a hidden seller at a key area here on this bid prop. That led me to I added short. I shorted up here, but then I added short, especially on the second push where this hidden seller was holding a key level. And I was like, man, this guy, he relentlessly held for 10 minutes straight. I was like, I don't think he's going to break it. So I'm playing the odds. I'm like, I was thinking of I thought it might clear out and then slam back down. But then as soon as I saw him holding this level for 10 plus minutes, I'm like, I don't think he's going to let the orders through. So I just shorted in the high 2.6s. And, it's almost at, I'm recording this during market open. It's almost 1 p.m. I'm waiting for this to crack to the 5-minute 200. So. Anyway, so let's talk about some of these signals. By the way, this Discord is just a place where me and a friend post some charts. It's not open to anybody. Maybe I'll make it open to people later. Honestly, should probably charge people. But as of right now, this is just like a notes area where I just, I take screenshots of certain things that I think are interesting, and then that way instead of having it on my hard drive, I have it on a Discord server. So we'll go through this. I'll just scroll through some examples. Let's focus on a pattern I made a video about before, which is the bid prop. Bid props are interesting. If you don't know what a bid prop is, it's literally when higher lows are painted on a chart, usually after a bunch of weakness happens. Well, it actually could happen after a big push. So either a gigantic, massive squeeze happens that squeezes short sellers on really, really strong stocks. It pulls back, and then it bid props. We'll see that Pally did that recently. Or it can happen on weak stocks. It can happen on stocks that fade, at market open. And if you missed a market open short, maybe you were waiting for something else. A lot of times there's bid props on the backside, and these are very high odds. It's often an indication that something's going to fade to the 3-minute 200, the 5-minute 200. You're going to have another 15, maybe even 20% fade out of this. Or in some examples where there's dilution, it could be, the sign that this is the final prop before the big dilution fade, which is often fading to the previous close, the close of the previous day. So bid props, pretty simple. Higher lows, weak stock, or really strong stock that pulled back really far. And there's two signals that tend to happen. Either huge bids that are pushing the stock up, or maybe there's no huge bids. Maybe it's just grinding higher and higher and higher, and then it gets to a key level, usually after a significant period of time. I would say at least 25, 30 minutes, and then a hidden set or a huge ask, or a reasonably sized ask. It doesn't even have to be huge. It doesn't have to be 200,000 shares. It could be as much as 30, 40, 50,000 shares. But you'll see at a lot of level 2 manipulation, you see this quadruple stack show up, and we'll see this over and over and over again. Or in SPRB today, there was a hidden seller, right? So CMMB, massive long trap. By the way, the best long traps are not clearouts. The best long traps are stocks that push right below high day and then reject. Those actually have the biggest fades. Because the least amount of short sellers, this high was at 5.4, this pushed to 5.35. Massive stuff straight down. ATM, weak volume, down only dilution fade, right? So massive long trap, fades straight down, starts propping. I'm like, and I just know with the dilution fade, this can just fade right back to where it came from. There's still a lot of meat on the bone. I was like, maybe let's see if I can, because I actually went long this. This was a high institutional ownership stock, and I went long in the fours down here, and I sold a piece at 5.1, and then I was holding for high day, and then once this stuff happened, I sold everything. Stupid enough, I didn't go short, but I did short this bid prop, and I caught the ATM fade. So here's some painted higher lows, very thin volume, massive long trap. Usually if I see massive long trap followed by thin volume followed by some type of long trap pattern like a bid prop, it's just a lot of times, just like SPRB today, it's just additional confirmation that a further fade is coming. Okay, and then what happens on this stock that's trading not even 100,000 shares a minute? Somebody flashes 40,000 shares on the bid, and I'm like, oh, bid prop. I was like, oh, level 2 bid prop confirmation, great. And usually I wait longer. But if it's earlier in the morning, if it's before 10 a.m., props can happen quicker. And also there was a massive 1 minute 20 rejection. So I was going to wait longer, but as soon as I saw that, I shorted into this bounce and then gave its first big crack. And what's funny is it actually had another bid prop here, and there was a hidden buyer at 4.16. Very, very insanely low volume. They just clear out this tiny little level up to the 1 minute 200, then it fades into the ATM fade, which closed at 2.9. So even if you had an entry at 4.3, that's a $1.4 fade. But yeah, it's an example of bid prop pattern, weak stock, a lot of times they set a big trap, long trap beforehand, produces an initial leg down, and then sets a bid prop with this type of big bid signal. So you're matching the price action, you're matching what came before it, and you're matching what's on the level 2. And that's telling you, you're adding all those factors up, and it's letting you know, it's like, hey, another leg down could be coming. SPRB today, again, big leg down, high day clear out, straight down, started propping. I'm like, okay, very clean bid prop. You get these quick dumps and instant reclaims. This is classic bid prop action. Clean higher lows. And then it gets up to this level, which is the high of this candle was 2.72. And it comes up right to it, and it rejects it. And then when it comes back up to it again at 2.7, massive hidden seller. I'm like, all right, hidden seller. I see, which again, a hidden seller is on the ask. There's a very small amount of shares, but a ton of buy orders are going through the tape and it's not moving. I'm like, all right. So I shorted a little bit. It came down. It reclaimed. I was like, okay. I was thinking it might clear out. I was like, okay, maybe it clears out this level, then pulls down. But then what happens? Hidden seller's still there. And I'm like, oh, this guy, I don't think this guy's going to let this push any higher. It's still propping. We're getting into this 25, 30 minute perfect time frame. And as soon as he held, I added more. I was like, I just don't I think, because my thinking was, either he's going to let it clear out and then it's going to come straight back down, or it's just going to come straight down. So I was like, or small percent chance that this just squeezes. But given this chart, given the volume, given this, high day clear out pre-market price action, I'm like, okay, the odds of that happening are pretty low. So I short and add. Big hidden seller. If you've recorded your tape, you would have seen this guy just relentlessly selling. And it fit my bid prop technicals, shorted, and now it's fading, and it's still fading. I'm waiting for it to get to the 5-minute 200, which is, as of right now, it's at 2.3. I'm just hoping for another. It looks really weak. It's 1 p.m. right now, market time. Probably another crack down to 2.2. Cover down there. But yeah, let's go over more examples. Let me find some more bearish examples, because a lot of people that follow me are short sellers. So, PRQR. So this actually did a pattern that I haven't made a video on yet, what I call the aggressive walk-up. Essentially, this pattern's really funny. The stronger, if something ever trades a lot of volume and pulls back really hard, okay? If something pushes back towards high day, if you actually study how stocks that soak midday and squeeze, how they actually squeeze, they don't look like this. They're actually kind of choppy. They're kind of choppy and low volume, and they slowly kind of grind, and then they squeeze. But if something ever super aggressively pushes like this, like big initiation, like this actually teleported, like I think like 15, 20 cents, and then instant 1 minute 9, 1 minute 20, big squeeze. This is actually super bearish. The more aggressive something pushes towards high day after fading, the more bearish it is. Kind of very counter. A lot of manipulation is very counterintuitive, right? The slow grinders are the ones you often have to look out for, but it's the fast, quick ones, believe it or not, that are the good shorts. So, anyways, long trap. The way this long trap works, it pushes right under high day and it pulls back. Then it has this very thin volume soak. I was like, okay, thin volume soak, massive long trap. Usually means they're going to push it a little bit, then pull it back down. So they did. They pushed it. I thought it might go a little higher, so I didn't short this, even though I should have just taken the position. It cracked, and what you notice a lot about bid props is there's like a clean floor, which is like in this low 2.8s area. It props, it comes back to the floor, and then it consolidates for like 5-10 minutes and then cracks the floor. Very common. So it's a bid prop into a floor crack. Very common. So what happened here is it propped, very thin. There was already a long trap that happened before that, so the odds of this being reclaimed are very low. It cracks, and then on the bounce, somebody flashes a 110,000 share ask, right? This is on this bounce. On this bounce, which is the 1 minute 9, somebody flashed this huge ask. And in this case, it's actually, this is an example of a huge ask being very bearish, because this is a long trap pattern followed by another long trap pattern. When a huge ask is bullish, which we'll go over examples of that, it's when they're painting lower highs. In this case, they're painting higher lows and trapping, right? So big ask in this situation matches with a long trap, which is a short pattern. And yeah, I shorted in the high 280s, and this cracked straight down, like almost instantly. I was kind of hoping it would fade into end of day, but this was a high IO, good biotech news play. So it's not surprising that it soaked a decent amount. What's some other examples? Oh, okay, on bid props, another thing that can happen. So this is CLRO. Again, bid prop lasts about 35, 40 minutes. Very clean, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. It gets up to a key level, and another thing that happens is they flash a really big ask. And a lot of times this ask doesn't even get touched. It gets touched like maybe a third of the way or halfway, but very, very little. So again, this is an example of higher low bid prop, huge ask. This ask exists to prevent the stock from pushing up higher. This is kind of the final level that they decided this is as high as we want it. Okay, so and it gets minimally tested. And I used to be so afraid. I used to be afraid to short under these because I thought the manipulator would just squeeze. And sometimes it does happen. Sometimes sometimes you lose. but if it matches up with ideal technicals of a long trap pattern, uh, this is a good confirmation signal. So bid prop, it could be huge bids pushing it up, like we saw with CMMB, or it could be a huge ask at a key level pushing it down. We saw this on Pally. This is Pally from December 30th. Okay. Clear out. So massive, short squeeze. People shorting to offering and getting squeezed, right? Pulls back. So this is an example of a bid prop on a strong stock, right? Pulls back, clears out, pulls back, starts bid propping. Very clean. Very clean. Like super clean. And what I notice a lot of time about bid props is if there's actually a key level, like $7 hold dollar. So a lot of manipulators know people will short into the $7 kind of breakout. They'll short into it. So whenever I notice, and I see this on VWAP sometimes too, it's context dependent. But a lot of times they'll push up to that level, bring it back, squeeze it one more time to kind of like shake out the people who shorted this early. And then that's the top of the level that they're looking to end the prop at. And we saw it again. Ask, triple, this quadruple stack on the ask, 7.25. That was the exact top. This actually got eaten to about halfway. But then it immediately rejected back down. So, and this was top. That was top of the prop. And then it did a little rollover and a big crack. By the way, on really ideal bid props, or really ideal long traps, they almost always have multiple legs down, at least 2 legs down. So you short this up here, 1 leg down. This bounce, if the technicals really lined up really well on this, it'll always give a second leg down. So that's where my first kind of partial level is on these. And actually, then it did it again. Here's it propping at a very low volume. And they flashed a quadruple stack again, didn't get eaten into. And that was the top of this. And then this faded, gave one more clear out at 6.5, and then faded to end of day. Just manipulated stock stuff. Random other bid prop examples. Here's SMMT. It's my baby. Multiple crazy strong pushes, beginning of a strong cycle. 50K shares on the bid. Didn't get tested. Volume got very thin. Big crack to the 1 minute 200. All right, let's just try to focus on some bullish examples, right? How to not get caught. So the classic one is the lower high paint job, where somebody's clearly painting lower highs straight down. Oftentimes shakes out support. Type 4 type squeeze, and a lot of times they're holding. This one was insane because of how huge. Usually it's not this big, but you had like 400,000 shares at this price level, then 500,000 shares at this price level, and they held this. A lot of times with the lower high paint jobs, especially midday, they last a long time. They can last at least an hour. A lot of times multiple hours, sometimes 3-4 hours. So don't try longing too early. If you see these huge asks, pushing down lower highs, try to long on a support crack, or try to time it. Try to time it where these huge asks either get taken out, which sometimes happens, or they disappear. In this case, it was kind of interesting. There's these 2 huge asks. It painted for 4 hours. And then there was a huge ask at 2.19. This got taken out. And then it pushed to 2.23, and that ask was gone, and the 500,000 shares at 2.24 was gone. There was just 60,000 shares, but once this got taken out, as you see, this is 145.46, 145.49. That 2.24 got taken out, and this squeezed all the way to 2.9, and then it squeezed even more after this pullback. Extremely nasty, just completely nasty. Completely nasty. TBLT, back on November 14th, did this. Same thing. Very manipulated stock. clean lower high paint job, lower high, lower high. Every single one of these lower highs had a 46,000 share ask, 94,000 share ask, 212,000 share. And then what they do is they shake out support, they bring it back up, they do one of these like little like mini support cracks. A lot of times they'll crack this support level to shake out the last few people, but keep it above whatever the lowest level is. And then this teleported from 3.11 to 3.25. They removed all those asks. Everyone freaked out and started covering, and it squeezed up to almost 3.5 on the same candle. And then it kept going up. So a lot of times with these, you don't see this that often. Like something like SMMT or TBLT, these happen just once in a while. But when they do happen, in the short trap paint job is really clean. Not only do they squeeze, there's often multiple legs up, and in this case, this ran all the way to $4. And SMMT also ran after its initial push too. So IMX, I pointed this out on my Twitter. This is on strong stocks, on strong manipulated stocks. Clearouts are often huge short traps. They know shorts like to short into them. They know shorts like to chase. They know longs like to sell. So on strong stocks, strong manipulated stocks, it's very common for range clearouts. So this is below high day, or even high day clearouts to be massive short traps before a squeeze. And if you ever see a clearout trap, whether it's at high day or in this case a range, it often squeezes way past that level. And yeah, sometimes there's a level 2 manipulation signals that let you know. So here's IMX, clears out this 2.3, pulls down. There's a support painted at 2.18. It bounces, cracks 2.18, and something really interesting happened. On the ask, there's 3,000 shares. And I'm looking at it, and I actually wasn't short this because I thought it would be manipulated. And I was like, and I actually called this out. I was like, oh, that could be a mini clear out short trap. And I was looking at it, and then suddenly, here's a 950.54. Out of nowhere, 50,000 shares flashes on the bid. This is an example of a big bid. Again, this is a short trap, which means it's a long pattern. Big bid in this context means, Princess, why are you so sad? I'm sorry, my baby's crying. Big bid in this case is super bullish. And I instantly bought, and it got market ordered straight to high day. It went up. I got in at 2.19, and it went up 32 cents in like maybe a minute and 10 seconds or something like that. Level 2 confirmation. Break support, 1 minute 20 EMA. Clear out short trap. Decent volume, decent consistent 1 minute volume candles. Not bad. Not bad volume. Previous manipulated stock. Pre-market high clearly painted up here. 2.5, right? And yeah, and they squeezed it. So another example was LASC. Okay, this example of a hidden buyer on the bid. So somebody hiding their buy orders on the bid. Okay, so manipulated stocks, high day clear out, shorted it. But I'm always on the lookout. On the fade, I'm always on the lookout for, especially on previous manipulated stocks, some, hanky-panky happening. I want to make sure, especially at key levels. So in this case, high day clear out, comes down, breaks $2, gets market ordered up, clears out again. So it broke $2 at 1.98, right? Clears out a second time on this red volume candle, okay? Comes down to 1.97. So a lot of times manipulators like to crack support by 1 or 2 cents and start soaking, right? They shake out whoever was risking that level, and then they start soaking. In this case, 1.97, obviously 1 cent lower than 1.98. Hidden buyer shows up, and a bunch of people are selling into this guy, and I'm looking straight at it, and this order's not moving. And I actually did a little trick that I learned in the Jesse Livermore book, where you buy a stock and then you sell back into it. I wanted to see if this guy was actually buying, or if this was going to crack. So I just bought, maybe I just bought like 5,000 shares and I sold directly into it, and I saw that he was still buying. I was like, oh, he's buying, and then I went long, and then I actually went long at 1.98. I literally went long at 1.98. And then it was just, in this case, that signal's so strong, and I know that clearouts are often short traps. Before, again, look at this high day clearout. Whenever you see a level 2 signal like this, and if you know that clearouts can be big short traps, never short another. Do not short this clearout, because, like I said before, clearout short traps squeeze a lot of times at least 3 to 5% past the previous high. And if market's really strong, they could squeeze 20, 30% past the previous high. But in this case, this volume wasn't like that impressive. It was a good long trap though, or short trap though. It was a good long. But yeah, this was at 2.24. Squeezed all the way to 2.39. So don't short this clear out, right? This is too early. Just short up here. So yeah, hidden buyer, clear out short trap, big soak, big squeeze. And then what? Oh, let's go VVOS. So this was very interesting. I actually shorted this. I tried shorting this at 2.9 on this signal, but the wonderful people at Trade Zero were lagging. But it doesn't matter because I shorted into 2.8s anyways, because of how strong this signal was. So this is a pattern I haven't made yet, made a video for yet. But the way really strong stocks top is you don't want to guess high day clearouts on strong stocks. They often fail, right? Like this one, this one, this one. Like a lot of times it's a guessing game, and you could get squeezed really hard trying to guess high day on super strong stocks. But a common pattern that happens, and this is much higher odds, which with much tighter risk, is something pushes, it forms a high, and then it starts consolidating, and then it forms one high. In this case, it was at 2.9. And then the second high, when it breaks that 2.9, you short into 2.9. So you're shorting above 2.9, but below high a day. That's how many, many, many strong stocks top, right? Think of it as one mini last long trap, where people like to buy over a range before the breakout. Where they're trying to paint strength, and a lot of times there's a series of higher lows, so it's higher lows and higher highs. On strong stocks, higher lows and higher highs can be very, very bearish. It's often a major sign in the right context that the top is in. So this one had an amazing level 2 signal, and again, with a few trading buddies, I pointed this out. So there's this high, 2.96. There's this floor, 2.75, okay? There's a massive bid, big bids, okay, on higher lows after a stock has already pushed 300%, possibly weak. I'm looking at the chart, okay? 238,000 shares on this. It actually got completely taken out, and then there was a hidden buyer below that. So all these shares got eaten, and then there was another hidden buyer right below 2.75, and they pushed it up, and I was like, oh, this is super bearish. I was like, okay, what's the higher high level? I saw 2.9, and I was like, the moment it breaks 2.9, you short. The moment or just put a limit order. like you're actually, the way this pattern works is it won't break high a day, so you can short 2.9, above 2.9, and you can risk 3 to 5 cents. And then your potential reward is like on this trade, it's like over $1.50. Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane what the risk reward is. But it's hard to predict. But in this case, you got an amazing level 2 signal where it's a huge bid that got taken out on a series of higher lows, clear range painted. With a hidden buyer and a 2.9 rejection. It hit the moment this broke 2.9. This was up here for maybe half a second and immediately got slammed back down. So even though I tried shorting, my order didn't go through. Thank you, Trade Zero. Should just use my center point account. But I shorted in the 2.8s just because I knew that's an A++ signal. And yeah, that's top. So is there any other really interesting examples? I'm trying to find a couple decent longs. You know, hidden buyer after a clear out. Massive bid, painting higher lows before it tops. Here's an interesting one. BXRX. So on for nanocap stocks, so stocks with, I would say, floats under like 3 million. I'll make a video on this. It's very common for tiny float stocks to fake weakness in the market open and squeeze, and vice versa. It's very common for tiny float stocks to fake strength in the market open and fade, right? With the tiny floaters, you often have to, especially early in the morning, you have to change your thinking about how they work. And if they start just going parabolic out the gate, then, like Kala, then they're strong. Okay, I mean, they're strong. Somebody's squeezing a nanofloat stock. But a lot of times on the nanofloaters that are kind of trading in a range and not necessarily squeezing, 50, 100% out of the gate, that's how they work. They work by anything that looks super weak is actually really strong, and anything that looks really strong is actually super weak. So BXRX, tiny float stock, pulls back, clears out the support, looks weak, paints this range. So there's a clearly painted range in the pre-market. And what they actually do is they push it with decent volume. That's 500,000 shares at $4. That's not bad. They clear out the pre-market range, and they bring it back to the 1 minute 9. And then I'm looking at the tape, and it was just normal tape. Didn't look that different. And then suddenly somebody flashes 30,000 shares at 4.32. It pushes, comes back to it, doesn't get tested, pushes again, and then from 4.32, and you could have entered in the high 4.3s, squeeze past high day. And again, when a lot of times when these big manipulation signals show up, it squeezes well past. So here's high day. It was at like 4.46. This went all the way up to 4.85. Again, like, they often squeeze like 3 or 5% at least, and a lot of times they squeeze even more, just depending on the situation and volume and stuff like that. They'll squeeze, another 20, 30%. But in this case, they just squeeze about, 3, 5%. And yeah, that's the signal. That's somebody clearly, they cleared out the pre-market range. They pulled it back, made it look really weak, and then somebody flashed a huge bid. And sometimes I wonder, it's like, why did they flash a huge bid? Are they signaling to other people using the level 2 that, hey, I'm about to initiate this, Or are they trying to abuse how algos buy and sell? Maybe they know if I flash a big enough bid at a certain price, that enough algos would buy enough shares to push this up to the level I want. I don't know. Who knows? I just know when it happens, when this is actually, again, on nanocaps, this is really strong. You fake weakness in the market open and you squeeze. You clear out short trap. You clear out a certain level and you soak. Huge bid shows up, and yeah, it squeezes past high day. So, yeah, that is, I think that covers a good amount of examples. You have to know your traps. You have to know things like what a clear out short trap is. You have to know what bid props are. I'll try to make videos on failed rotates. I call this the failed rotate under high day, or the aggressive push pattern. We saw this many times. This is a super common pattern in the strong market. It's made to look stupidly strong. It's actually it often signals the top. So yeah, just go through this video. I recommend recording your screen. You'll see this stuff. Like I said, it doesn't happen. A lot of these patterns happen and work without any of these signals. You don't need the signals. It just, when it shows up, it's extremely good, extremely high odds, and it could give you a lot of conviction. But you have to know what the traps are. But if you do see it, trust me, those will, as I become more comfortable with these signals and what they mean, the more size I'm using when they show up, and it's really proving that they work extremely well, and they lead to really big legs down, often with incredibly tight wrists. So it's great. It's great. Yeah, but maybe I want to say, God, when these types of signals show up, maybe like, I don't know, 10 to 10% of my trades these happen. So it's not like every single trade I'm taking has like some signal like this. Okay, this is just a very, 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 very nice thing that happens when they do show up. But yeah, there's plenty of these patterns happen without any of these signals. Okay, so hope that helps. I've been meaning to make this video for a while. I do feel like I've learned a lot since I initially promised I would make this video. And yeah, try to just study the short and long traps, study how they work. Know, because that's the hard part, is knowing what the trap is and knowing what something like a clear out short, why this clear out is actually bullish when so many other clear outs are bearish, right? like it's stuff like that, or when low volume, lower highs are bullish, when a lot of times a stock is just weak and fades straight down. It's that's the hard part, is knowing the traps and knowing how long you need to wait, what you're looking for, and then it's nice if you do get a signal, right? If you something on level 2, it's nice. So yeah, it's not easy. Nothing's easy. But this is stuff. I felt like I've been recording my screen for about 2.5 years, and I always watch all my tape at the end of every day and over the weekend. I actually watch tape more than I look through my entry and exit charts. I actually find watching tape and watching my decision making to be much more informative than just looking at arrows on a chart. But I hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Follow me on Twitter. All right, see you.